Welcome, everyone. It's so nice to have you part of us today. The journey of a salesperson in the real estate environment is commonly called a real estate agent. I'm sure you knew that already. But as a real estate agent in this particular space, we've got to perform so many different tasks. We've got to build relationships with clients. We've got to get their listings. We've got to market their listings. We've got to make sure that those listings look clean when we market them. We've got to take buyers through those properties. We've got to get those buyers interested. We've then got to get those buyers to push their prices up even higher. Then we've got to get the seller to actually accept it. Then, right at the end of it, you get all the paperwork signed. You feel relieved. You feel like your world has just done a complete circle, and you think, this is it. I am ready to run that staircase and really just punch one little fist into the sky. But does it really stop there? No, it doesn't. You see, the journey of what you've taken is the journey of building those relationships and closing a transaction. Then it goes into the legal framework. That legal framework is what makes everything so important and validates this transfer that goes across. It's not like just having a piece of paper, crossing out a name and rewriting a new person's name. If it was like that, just imagine the chaos that there would be in the industry. So that's why we have conveyancers. And joining us today is a conveyancing team that has been, oh, there goes the voice. I'm really getting into this. It's a conveyancing team that's truly supported us throughout this particular year. It's a conveyancing team that is really geared to service and support. So joining me on the call today is Jacques. Jacques from eSi, how are you doing today?
I'm very well, thank you, Stuart.
No, fantastic. It's always great to have someone who's got this profession of supporting us in the particular call. Now, I want to dig into eSi. Who is eSi? When did they start? Tell me this journey of how eSi has actually become what it is today. So let's go right back to the beginning.
So Stuart, I studied in Bloemfontein, and then in 1995 I came down to Cape Town looking for a job. And then I basically started the firm by myself. It was myself and a part-time secretary. And over time, we were able to grow the business year by year. We eventually got onto banks panels, and today I'm proud to say that we're on all the major banks panels. But it was a long journey. There was a lot of ups and downs, as you can imagine, with the recession, and then COVID and Credit Act that came into play. So hard work, teamwork, first and foremost. Over the years, we've assembled a fantastic team. And like any other business, if it wasn't for the people behind the faces, myself and Zahn, that's the directors at eSi, it hadn't been possible to grow the business to where it is today.
Now you mentioned you did studies in, well, the Free States.
Yeah.
We won't announce that too loud because, well, we'll leave it as that.
Yeah.
What actually made you go into your own practice? Because I've been dealing with a number of attorneys, and they always feel they want to work for one of the big five because they have all the power. And the smaller ones tend to have this struggle. What was that real drive inside of you that said, you know what, I actually want to do it myself?
To be quite honest, I couldn't find a job. No one wanted to give me a job, so forcing me to start to do my own thing. So I had a slow start, but the one thing I very quickly realized, I'm my own boss. I can make my own decisions. It's easier to adapt in the property industry with estate agents, just a property industry in general. So we only do conveyancing and walls, estates, those kind of things. But today I'm very grateful that because of those early decisions I was forced into, that we today, I say, light on our feet. I don't have to go back to 20 other partners to make a decision. When we speak, I can make a call and there we go. And it really helps and benefit our business to get all the kind of middle management out of the way. So that helps us. That's one of our strengths today, is a decision making without having to go back to board meetings and this and that, so that helps us a lot.
Well, that's a key component to any person with an entrepreneurial mindset, is that growth factor. Now, give us a bit of an overview of eSi. You're not just a single office hoping to expand. You've actually got a number of offices and you've actually expanded quite rapidly. Give us a nice overview of where your presences are around South Africa.
Yeah, so we mostly focus on in the Western Cape, with the office in George. So in Cape Town area, I've got our bigger office in Tiger Valley, and then we've got smaller offices, Tableview, Claremont, Somerset West, then a medium-sized office in George, and now we've also opened an office in Riviera Castile, seeing that we do get a lot of support from that area as well. You know, you've got to be convenient access to your clients. So, you know, people don't want to drive out, especially in the cities, to come and see you. We need to make it convenient for clients, and that's why we've opened all these offices, so we can, you know, give service to a bigger area within the city of Cape Town and then the adjacent areas in the Western Cape. So we've also got a great network of correspondent attorneys. So if clients live in other areas or towns, to make it convenient for them to sign documentation or send documentation to them.
Perfect. So this is giving you a nice, great exposure for yourself, especially in the Western Cape, and growing from there.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned that through your journey, you've gone through things like recession, COVID, all of these different aspects which nobody could have predicted, but you actually came out of it stronger. What were the lessons that you learned through recession and COVID that's actually built your business to be even stronger today?
Yeah, you know what? No one likes a crisis. And when I started out, I forget, the interest rates were about, was it 23%, and then like all the other things that happened. Is at the time, it's not difficult to deal with these things, but it does give you opportunities. There's a lot of movement in the property industry. A lot of other conveyancers don't service their clients as well as they should in those times, because it's natural just to pull back into your shell, retrench. So you've got to set up your business to anticipate that things might happen. You know, a lot of these things we've got no control over. You know, between legislation, politics, and COVID, no one saw it coming. It's really difficult to anticipate. But that's, once again, it comes back to being light on your feet within your business and adapt to the various circumstances as they play out. You know, I remember a time when we did 5-year planning. I mean, the industry has changed so much, you don't even do a year planning anymore because of the ever changing property industry and obviously the politics within the country.
And it's these little changes that you've adapted. Just think of a large company. You've got to sit in a board member with 30 different directors, and half of them are old school. Another half of them are still young school, and there's a lot of conflict. So you've had that flexibility to go through. And the lessons that you've learned has helped to build you where you are at the moment. Now, if we reflect from COVID to today, over the last 5 years, what has been the greatest challenge that you've seen with the real estate market, specifically the agents, when they're giving you files for you to work on? What's been that biggest challenge or hurdle that you've actually encountered?
Stuart, you know, when I started out years ago, offer to purchase used to be a page and a half. The other half page with the agent's face. Today, it's 22 or 24 pages with a condition report. And unfortunately for an estate agent, it's not just about selling a house anymore. And that's why I like the phrase property professional, because the whole industry needs to unfortunately change to becoming more professional. And I think estate agents today, the brokers are realizing that not just compliance, but how they complete an offer to purchase has got a lot of complications. There's so many regulations, bylaws, things that change. And I must say, human behavior of buyers and sellers has also changed. Maybe because we live in a world where everything is so convenient and everything is given to you on a kind of a platter. You just push a button and the food gets delivered, etc. They expect buyers and sellers the same. So the person that with all these changes really have their hands full are the brokers, because buyers and sellers don't want to take any responsibility anymore. And there's a lot of instances what I see when parties walk into our office to sign documents and we get emails. The broker is always to blame. The estate agent is always to blame. They weren't informed. They weren't told about this. And I'm talking cost. They should have known that the stove is being removed or appliance. I really feel for estate agents today because of the pure expectations by all parties concerned. And then they have to fill in a legal document. And what's black on white, there's nothing I can do about it. That is how it's completed. Now you can fix it with addendums and change certain things. But if one of the parties are on disagreement, then you've got to execute that contract as it's completed. So it's a tough industry, just purely because of the expectations of compliance. Compliance is playing a huge role, especially since we've been placed on the grey list. Although we're off now, those compliance aren't going away, and I just imagine it's just going to become more and more complicated. Now, especially where you've got to do with legal entities. I mean, that's not actually the estate agencies. Well, it's their work. But if you really think how complicated it is, they don't get us enough training, so the industry needs to armor the agents to be able to deal with all these things. It's and then unfortunately everyone wants to cut their commission. That's I think a huge challenge for your industry.
Absolutely. They always feel that the lower the commission, easier to close the deal. Yeah. Where in fact all that's happening, it's putting more financial stress on yourself. I'm glad you brought up compliance, because I wanted to pivot into the compliance side of it. Compliance is a huge part of the real estate industry. Without compliance, you can't identify the individual. You cannot actually proceed with any transfer of any particular funds. When you look at the compliance within your practice, as far as the documentation that is received, what is it that you look for to make sure that you remain compliant, but it's not always on your shoulders, it is on the shoulders of the actual agent to supply you with ID numbers and things of that nature? How do you maintain the compliance at eSi Attorneys?
Look, we're fortunate. We do a lot of training on compliance. So the agents we deal with, I must say, are fairly compliant. It's normally when it's just South Africans, individuals, the compliance is easy with ID, proof of address, income tax numbers, things like that. Especially foreigners. We've realized that a lot of foreigners are illegal in the country. They can't provide visas. Their passports are outdated or invalid. And then when it comes to legal entities, that's a real minefield. The companies, the trust, companies held by various trusts, and you've got to go and look at from the founder to the trustees, and then obviously all the beneficiaries. So some trusts are structured in a very complicated way. So it's a minefield. What we do, we work hand in hand with the various estate agents to make sure that we get all the necessary documentation. Unfortunately, clients get very upset because you can think it's a huge irritation. But I mean, those are the regulations, and it's international regulations. There's nothing we can do about it.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that we're reinforcing that it is a regulation, not something from a brand or an agency. It's not something that's just South Africa. It's international. Regardless of where you're going, people want to identify, because of money laundering and all of those terrorist type of activities that happen out in the actual world. So let's just focus on eSi Attorneys as far as the service. Now, you mentioned that you're doing wills and trusts, which on the side, but conveyancing is a big part of your business. what is a process if an agent is saying, hey, I'd like to use ESI attorneys? How do they go about building relationships? Is it that they're building a relationship with an unknown person that's just an email, or is there a person that they're actually communicating and it builds in a deeper relationship? Give me an understanding of that relationship building within ESI to the actual agent themselves.
Yeah, so we try and make it personal, and because that's very important. The estate agent especially needs to trust you. He needs to trust these buyers and sellers to deal with your company. So personal interaction is extremely important. We also set up, like I said, a lot of training so that estate agents can see what we're all about. But at the end of the day, once we get an instruction, just the way we handle it, the initial letters that go out, the communication, your clients are always seen by attorneys and not secretaries, paralegals, or PROs. And at the end of the day, they need to trust the brand. It's a financial. I always say, when it comes to an estate agent, are you really any different than a financial advisor? Our biggest assets are properties. You advise what this is worth, and then at the end of the day, you sell it. The same with the buyer. He needs to believe that when he buys this property, it's a good investment. And we try and treat the clients the same way as if we need to respect and not just, it's just another transfer. We need to understand the expectations. And obviously, there's a lot of money involved. So we need to make sure we register and do our thing on time as well. So it's a constant communication. Fortunately, today with the systems, our app, there's so many ways to communicate, not just with ourselves, but also the secretaries. And we try and make sure we've got the best people in the industry working for us.
Brilliant. Give us an indication of the size of your team, because I'm assuming it's not just you with maybe 2 or 3 secretaries. Give us the size of your team, their experience as well.
So we've got a staff complement of 67 people. We are 16 attorneys and 2 directors. And then we've got the rest are paralegals. And then, talking about compliance, a lot of our junior staff are just chasing the compliance, making sure there's, unfortunately, attorneys are a target of trying, because there's money flow, a lot of attempts to defraud people. So we've got in our bookkeeping department as well, we have people just making sure that we pay the money into the right accounts. These kind of things is very important. So once again, and we do continuous training with our staff. That's very important, bringing the people through. So we've got a good team. Very proud of the accomplishments.
No, brilliant. Most of the time when we start talking with various attorneys, we don't see what happens behind the scenes. We get basically what's on a website. It could be just a director or maybe the director's details. And then there's a kind of a complement of staff that goes on thereafter. But a size of 67 is a great complement to service the actual team here at eXp. So let's look into the future. Where is ESI going? And I know that in a law type of environment, this question is kind of like, well, Stuart, we're a law firm. Where do we go? But you've got that visionary. You started because, if you forced your way into it because you couldn't get a job, as you said, but there's definitely a deep passion because you've maintained it over the years. So where do you see ESI attorneys in the next, say, 3 to 5 years? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, look, I'm very excited about the future. It's especially we try and develop hand in hand with what's happening in the property industry. So yes, we a law firm. We've got to comply with a lot of legislation, bylaws, the LPC, all these kind of things. But hand in hand, we want to add value to the estate agents or estate agent industry. So as you develop with AI, for example, we need to play catch up. And with our apps and all these kind of things, we need to make communication and marketing very interactive. As we speak, we've We've got people here doing our Instagram reels and things like that, because we it's no different to your industry. We're just selling a different product as such. But yeah, so I think AI is going to play a very big role in all of our lives. It's actually scary how it's developing in leaps and bounds, especially in our industry. So yeah, I love it. You need to have passion for what you're doing, and I think what's very important for any lawyer or conveyancer, they need to know what's happening on the ground. They need to interact with estate agents so they can understand what they are dealing with, their challenges, and make sure when a client comes in and we handle a transfer that we respect their time and effort that they've put in. So yeah, I love it. It's like you say, it's passion, attitude. That's the thing that gets your business going.
Passion is such a big part of everybody's business. If passion disappears, the business disappears.
Yeah.
So for you to actually bring that and highlight that you have that particular passion, it's really something where an agent's going to go, that's what I want to deal with. That's who I want to deal with. So how does an agency or an agent get in touch with eSi to actually start using your particular services? Maybe it's an agent that's never heard of you before, and now they've watched this and they're going, hey, this resonates with me. How do they make contact with you and your team?
Yeah, well, they are more than welcome to phone me, send me a WhatsApp, and I'll contact them. Contact us through one of our offices, or we've got 6 PROs. Sometimes the agents feel more comfortable dealing with a PRO initially before they meet the attorneys or directors, just a softer approach maybe in the beginning. But, through our app, through our website, there's various ways. But I would prefer if they just send me a message and I'll call them back and set up a meeting and do a more formal introduction.
No, fantastic. And that's where the difference with eSi attorneys comes in. For many, when you deal with a director, the chances of you actually, and when I say director, I'm talking the founder, the person that's right at the top, the chances of you actually getting their personal number to actually have a communication with them, well, I know for a lot of attorney firms out there, especially the big ones, you don't even know who they are. So you will never even get in touch with them. But here we have Jacques, who's really opened up himself and really shared how his business operates. And I'm pretty sure that while you're looking and listening to us, you're actually getting quite excited. You want to deal with this particular company. So Jacques, any final thoughts or comments before we close up on this particular session?
Yeah, I just think it's very important for any estate agent to deal with a very reputable law firm. I mean, there's so many things going on behind the scenes that when you introduce a transaction to a law firm, make sure that they are conveyancers, that are on top of their game, that they can deal or have the experience to deal with a lot of things. Make sure, like, for example, a pre-listed beneficiary with the banks to try and combat fraud. It's all those things. So you've got to tick the boxes to make your life easier. At the end of the day, you've got to work hand in hand. And if you can't get hold of your attorney, you can't speak to them. I mean, yes, it's gonna be very, very difficult. So choose your conveyancing partners and make sure you build a good team around you. And from our side, please contact us, give us a try. Let us meet up, see how we can add to your business. I must say we love working with eXp, and once again, the passion, the attitude around the way they empower the brokers and estate agents. So yeah, thank you for the opportunity.
No, always a pleasure. It's always an honor to have somebody at your level that's actually got that level of service, authenticity, and passion in the actual industry is what we actually want, because that actually encourages our agents to want to go out and actually do business. Because that big journey, as I spoke about in the beginning, it's a hard journey. It's a journey where you've got to do a lot of negotiations and a lot of hard work behind it. And the last thing that you want is to hand your file over to somebody, well, they're actually just admitted and they have no idea what to do. And that file, it falls flat. And just as Jacques mentioned, when something goes wrong in that process, they always blame the agents. It's your name that can get tarnished. and that's not what you want. Using somebody that's trusted, using somebody that's reliable, that has the passion, that somebody who actually says, if you've got a problem, give me a call, because that is a unique feature is with ESI attorneys. So Jacques, I want to thank you so much for coming on to this particular session. It's always great to have people that have this particular passion. So please do join us for future sessions where I'll be talking to other CEOs, directors, owners of businesses to learn what's behind the scene. How did that business get to where it is? And who are the people? And how can they help you? So I look forward to seeing all of you in our future sessions.